All right, what's going on, everybody? I want to go ahead and say welcome to week one of the NFL season, something we've all been looking forward to. This video is going to be me getting into just looking at how my drafts went. We're in 3 drafts right now. We have a work league, which will be League One. We have a friend league that's a 10-team league, which will be League Two. And then our more serious league at the end of the video is going to be League 3. And there's something that happened in that league already that is probably the biggest transaction I've ever done in fantasy football history. So you're going to want to stick around for that last video, but we'll go ahead and hop right into the work league, which is League 1. So hopping into League 1, this is our work league draft. We're going to be looking at it on Fantasy Pros so we can keep the names, we can keep them confidential, and it'll allow us to get a little bit better of a picture what was going on in the draft. So you can see right here that Fantasy Pros gave us an A minus, 91 out of 100 in this draft. So this isn't the end all be all, and I'm pretty sure that, not even pretty sure, I'm positive that the majority of the time, these rankings, I'm sure they change and work themselves out in bunch of different ways throughout the season. So it's not like if you get an A plus or if you're ranked 1, you're automatically going to win. But it's a good idea of how you did in the draft if you're looking at it from a macro perspective. So let's go into the draft and see how this went. We had the 112 pick here, which is actually the position we're picking in for 2 of these leagues. And we can go ahead and see that Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp went off the board first. So pretty traditional first 4 picks, but then it got a little bit different with Najee. Then we got back into Dalvin, Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Mahomes went in the first round. Again, this is a work league, so not everyone knew what they were doing, clearly. But we went ahead and grabbed Deandre Swift and then Joe Mixon out of value in the first and second round. Moving to the third round, we were able to pick up Michael Pittman Jr. and A.J. Brown out of value. Then if we go through to the 5th round, this is probably the only round where I grabbed someone I wasn't super excited about, to be honest with you. I grabbed Gabe Davis, knowing that I would grab Jalen Hurts in the 6th round. It's a pick that I made in most of my leagues this year. Redraft, Best Ball Mania, all different types of drafts. I'm looking at Jalen Hurts as my QB1 option that you can get at a value. But Gabe Davis, looking back on it, he probably was the right pick at wide receiver. Now, what I could have done is maybe I could have gone a running back here. But if you look, the running backs available aren't really even that exciting to me. And if I was going to get a different wide receiver that I could have gotten a little bit more excited about, maybe we're looking at a Michael Thomas or a Juju Smith-Schuster. But Gabe Davis, I think, has a really high ceiling. And being that I got Michael Pittman and A.J. Brown as a high floor pick, I was able to go and grab someone with a higher ceiling. That's more of a gamble bet that might work out, might not. Sort of a boom bust player here. But I was okay doing that since I had Michael Pittman and A.J. Brown. So I'm not going to beat myself up too much about it. So moving on, we have Jalen Hurts. And we also had Jalen Hurts stacked with A.J. Brown this league, which is very nice. Stacks aren't as crucial in redraft leagues, especially if you're looking at more of like you don't want to get into double and triple stacks in redraft leagues, but a single stack can work out in your favor, especially if it's a quarterback with a star wide receiver or star receiving running back. So we really like to see that with Jalen Hurts. Then we got A.J. Dillon at an extreme value, followed by Chase Edmonds. At this point in the draft, in the 9th round, we clearly punted tight end for quite a while. But Cole Kmet is a good player you can grab later in your drafts so that you can. He's a tight end that you are able to get a lot of volume out of him, which you cannot say for the majority of the tight ends in the league. We saw a lot of targets going his way at the end of last year, and being that Allen Robinson is now officially gone, it's just Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney in that offense. Justin Fields will take a step and support a top 10 tight end finish in Cole Kmet. Moving on, we have Robert Woods as our round 10 pick. And then we have Darrell Henderson, George Pickens, Irv Smith, and the Chargers defense to round this all out. I would have not grabbed a defense if I had the option, but this league had a limit on wide receivers because we kind of had a rookie commissioner setting this league up. So we weren't. I was kind of maxed out here in wide receivers, which is why I couldn't grab more in this range. I had to grab a second tight end, but we got that fixed. I got some waiver wire pickups, and we should be looking a lot better now. So this is the look at our team or our League One outcome. We have a second overall ranking so far. We have fourth in starters, second on the bench, fifth in quarterback, fourth in running back, wide receiver, tight end, flex, defense, kicker. You can see it here. Which kicker's first because we don't have a kicker in this league, which I highly suggest. So replace your kicker with an extra flex spot. Take some of the randomness out of your leagues. But this is the look at our first league, and we will go ahead and move in to our friend 10-team league, League 2. Okay, here in League 2, we, according to Fantasy Pros, we had an amazing draft, an A+, 90 out of 100, pretty much as perfect as you can get. In this draft, we were picking from the fourth spot right here. In all the mock drafts I was doing leading up to this draft, I was choosing Justin Jefferson as my first overall pick. Now, Team 3 is actually a subscriber to the channel, and he knows that I'm a huge fan of Justin Jefferson and was actually calling it out in our group chat before the draft saying, don't think you're getting Justin Jefferson, I'm taking him. So right before the draft, I found out I wasn't getting Justin Jefferson, so we went ahead and happily grabbed Austin Ekeler as our first overall pick. Though I would have preferred Justin Jefferson, I do think that if you get Austin Ekeler falling to you at the fourth spot, you have to take him over a wide receiver. I do like taking wide receivers early, but in this circumstance, I'm willing to take Austin Ekeler, given that he has such a high ceiling at the running back position, and then we can make up our wide receiver positions later on. Moving forward into the second round, we had Deandre Swift falling back to us. So now you see a trend of me grabbing Deandre Swift in these drafts. I think it just so happened the way it all fell out. A lot of the offseason, I wasn't targeting Deandre Swift, but I do think he does have that league-winning potential. And when he's going to fall to us at the 12th pick or the second round at the, what is that? It's the second round of the 104. So I'm going to have to grab him. I'm really going to have to grab him. I had a different plan moving into this draft, but being the way this all shook out, you see Lamar Jackson going early. You see Mark Andrews going early. You see Deebo Samuel going early. So the way this all shook out, I had to take DeAndre Swift in the second. And then if you loop back here around to the third, I was planning on taking a wide receiver here. But when Barkley falls to me at the third round in this draft, I'm going to have to take him at a value. So that's what we did. We started 3 running backs straight away, that was not the plan moving into this draft, but you know, when this value falls to us, we have to take him. And worst case scenario, we use him as a bargaining chip later on. Moving into the fourth round, we had Michael Pittman falling all the way to us as our wide receiver 1, followed by Cortland Sutton, Darnell Mooney, and Allen Robinson. I think this gives us a really solid core at wide receiver, making up for our 3 running back start. The only thing here is now we're looking for a late round quarterback and tight end, since we went through the first 7 rounds so far without a tight end or quarterback. And that trend continues through the 9th round as we pick A.J. Dillon in round 8 and Brandon Ayuk in round 10. So now we're looking for our quarterbacks and tight ends at some sort of value, and players that we're looking at having a very high ceiling compared to the players available. So we went ahead and grabbed Trey Lance for his rushing upside potential at quarterback, followed by Dallas Goedert, also supported by Jalen Hurts, and is going to be the second receiving option in that offense. Or I'm sorry, the third receiving option in that offense, and he does have a higher ceiling than most tight ends. So moving on into round 12, we grabbed Ramondre Stevenson for his ceiling, George Pickens for his ceiling, Russell Gage, Julio Jones, and the Denver Broncos defense. So that's going to round out the League 2 draft. We finish, again, as the first ranked overall. Our starters are second, our bench is first, running back second, so on and so forth. And another trend you'll notice in my teams is I'd much prefer have a very solid bench and a mediocre starter ranking starting the season, because as the season goes along, depth is everything. So if you do have an injury hit you, your team isn't in shambles. You have options A, B, C, D, and it's really the person who can withstand all of the trials and tribulations that your players are going to go through throughout the season. Football's a rough sport. The running back position gets beat up. Wide receiver position gets beat up. So having that depth is super crucial. And if you end up getting lucky and not needing your depth, then you can sell those players to people later on that had that running back one get injured and are desperate for a running back option, as an example. So that's something that I really like to target this year, and it's a trend you'll see as we go through these leagues. But moving on to League 3. Okay, so for League 3, this is the most serious out of them all by far. So you'll see right here after the draft, we had the second ranking overall. And again, we had the 112 pick, so we grabbed Deandre Swift as our first overall pick, followed by Stefon Diggs. I told you I really do like going with that elite potential wide receiver one option in the early rounds because I think that a wide receiver has a higher ceiling. So if we can capitalize on an elite wide receiving option, I'm confident that I can find running backs later on. So I do like going Stefon Diggs here. I was looking for a running back to follow it up in the third round, so I grabbed Travis Etienne, followed by Kyle Pitts in the fourth. I really did want to go for that elite tight end option so that I was able to have positional dominance over the players that I will be going up against. And I do think Kyle Pitts has an extremely high ceiling, but stay tuned for what happened to him. But following Kyle Pitts, we have Jalen Hurts at quarterback once again. Nothing really to say here. I think his rushing upside is super high, and being able to grab him here in the fifth round at a value is something that we're going to do every single time. Obviously, I would prefer Lamar Jackson if that was possible, but it wasn't possible, so we went ahead and got Jalen Hurts. Pause. So after Kyle Pitts, we went through and grabbed Jalen Hurts again. This is something we already talked about, but rushing upside, love to see it. He's, when you're picking at the 112, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, all gone. And your options are Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray. After Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray, you start to get into the quarterbacks that are pocket passers and don't have any rushing upside other than Trey Lance, which is why you saw us grab him in League 2. But before that grade of quarterback got past us, we went ahead and grabbed Jalen Hurts, just like we already said. So after that, we went with Michael Thomas, being that we punted wide receiver for a few picks after we grabbed Stefon Diggs. It's kind of like a hero wide receiver type build. We got our hero wide receiver. We went Deandre Swift, Travis Etienne, grabbed their tight end, grabbed their quarterback, and now we're looking to fill in the positions when the values fall to us. So I grabbed Michael Thomas for that upside in round 7. This draft was happening while the news of Brian Robinson was breaking out. So Brian Robinson news came out like 5 minutes before I was up for this pick in round 7. So I saw that news, grabbed Antonio Gibson blindly just because I knew I'd be able to at least get a couple weeks out of him as a starting running back that I'm grabbing in the 7th round. And I knew it was a weak point of mine at this point in the draft. So I grabbed him just for that upside in the first few weeks, and hopefully I can sell him later on. I got Elijah Moore at a little bit of a value after him for the wide receiver position. Then we went and got James Cook, another running back that has a very high upside, being on an elite offense, and he's a passing down back. So if he's able to take any of the touches away from Devin Singletary, between, other than the passing downs, and he's supported with the passing downs, you could see James Cook being a sneaky late round sleeper at the running back position, which is what we were looking for here. So we grabbed James Cook, followed by Chris Olave at a value. I wanted to back up Michael Thomas just in case he wasn't what I thought he would be. I would have option B in Chris Olave. And then we have George Pickens. Once again, you see us grabbing him in every draft. He's a wide receiver too. You can grab in the 11th round, so we'll take that every single time. Kenny Gainwell, Michael Gallup, again, another guy I'm betting on as much as I possibly can. He's a wide receiver too. You're grabbing in the 13th round. And if you went to draft now, he's actually working his way up the boards in redraft leagues as well as Underdog Fantasy, which, again, you do have some time to draft Underdog Fantasy teams before Thursday. So use code FX54 under my camera right down there in the bottom right. So go over there and sign up if you haven't already. You get your first deposit from $10 to $100 matched at 100%. But this is a guy I'm betting on all the time, as well as Christian Watson. And then we followed it up with Denver Broncos defense and a kicker. I ended up dropping the kicker, so that was kind of pointless anyways. So this is the team that we drafted. But what I wanted you to stick around for is we had a massive blockbuster preseason trade. I was trying to capitalize on some value before the season started and give myself a little bit of depth. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this trade in the comments below. On paper and with the Fantasy Pro draft tool or trade tool, I was winning these trades by a large margin. I ended up moving my ranking up from second to first, but I did give up the best players in the transaction. So I'm going to put it up down below, and you tell me how you feel about this trade. So initially, I traded Team 10 for Deandre Swift, Kyle Pitts, and Romeo Doubs. And in return, I received Mike Williams, Aaron Jones, Hunter Henry, and Chase Edmonds. And I made this trade knowing that I was going to go ahead and trade all these players away right away and capitalize on some players that Team 8 had to offer. So right after this trade, and I mean like seconds after this trade, it was actually 4 minutes, 4 minutes after this trade, I made a second trade with Team 8 right here. And in return, I gave up Chris Olave, Christian Watson, and Aaron Jones. And in return, I received CeeDee Lamb, James Robinson, and Ramondre Stevenson. So that's what I ended up with. And I will go ahead and show you my roster so that you can see the team I'm working with here. So after all the trades and all the dust settled, we ended up with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Antonio Gibson, Travis Etienne, Chase Edmonds, Ramondre Stevenson, James Cook, Kenny Gainwell, and James Robinson at running back. So a lot of depth here, a lot of young guys that could break out in this season. So we gave up Deandre Swift, but we've replaced it with some depth with young stars that might develop in this upcoming year. And then we backed our running back one of Travis Etienne with James Robinson just to be safe. And now our wide receivers are absolutely stacked with Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Williams, Michael Thomas, Elijah Moore, George Pickens, Michael Gallup, and then our tight end is going to be Hunter Henry and Denver Broncos defense. And I'll probably have to drop Kenny Gainwell for a kicker for this first week. So tell me how you feel about this trade. I clearly traded away DeAndre Swift for a bunch of depth at running back position, strengthened the hell out of my wide receivers because now I can start Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Mike Williams all in the same week, or Michael Thomas if he ends up developing. And then I downgraded at tight end from Kyle Pitts to Hunter Henry. So let me know what you guys think about this. This is a very interesting way to do things. It's a massive trade, and it gives me a lot of depth moving forward into the season so that hopefully I can go ahead and trade some of these players for upgrades. If none of my running backs develop, which I'll have a hard time believing, but if that ends up happening, maybe I can package some wide receivers. But I'm pretty confident that at least 2 running backs of this bunch will develop into running back 1s and 2s, and then my wide receivers are set, and the only downgrade I'm really getting here is Hunter Henry. But remember, I was picked 12, so I'm first on the waiver wire, so if a tight end or running back breaks out or gets a lot of attention in week 1, I will be the first on the board to grab them. So that's another element worth knowing. But let me know what you guys think about these drafts. I'm really excited. I did pretty well as far as Fantasy Pros grades go, and I feel really comfortable with them. Now, obviously, that trade was hard to make. It was, it was kind of a punch in the gut, but I think we ended up on top. But again, throw your opinions down below. As always, I appreciate all the support. This is a video that we'll touch on as transactions happen in my league and massive changes, but I wanted you guys to be aware of what my teams looked like so that in the live streams we could talk about that and you guys will have a little bit of context. And if this is something you're interested in seeing more of, just let me know. But other than this, we have our first DFS live stream coming up Thursday or Friday, and we're going to continue to do those every single week. And then we're going to pump some videos out for some sort of waiver wire trade. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but we're going to do another prepared video in the week. So we'll do a DFS stream at least once, maybe twice in a week. And then hopefully we'll do a prepared video for you guys to give you some help. And if we don't do a prepared video, maybe we'll just hop in a live stream so you guys can come in here and ask some questions and tell me how you're feeling about the week. So thanks again for this, for everything, for all the support. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, give you a little bit of context of where I'm sitting at in my redraft leagues. I hope your guys all went well. You still have time to get into those Best Ball Mania and puppy drafts here in the next coming days, but happy week 1. We have Rams and Bills coming up here on Thursday, so we're getting into it real short. You only need to have a little bit more patience. But again, thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a good one. Peace.